After quite a while on the road, Arthur starts wondering how much longer this trip will take as he's eager to meet the old man's mysterious friend. Out of nowhere, Tessia leans over Arthur's shoulder and falls asleep. Looks like waking up so early out of excitement finally caught up to her. Since Tessia is the only princess of the kingdom, she grew up in a lonely environment. She's been hurt too many times by both adults and children pretending to be her friends. Over time, she became cold and distant, building a wall around herself to keep others out. But in the short time he's seen her with Arthur, she's shown more smiles and laughter than she has in the past few years. For that, the old man is genuinely glad and expresses his gratitude to our boy. After a short journey, the carriage comes to a halt, and they arrive at a lonely house in the middle of nowhere. By now, Arthur is genuinely curious to see who this mysterious friend is that the former king had to travel all the way to this rural area to meet. The old man, however, goes absolutely bonkers, kicking the door with all the force he can muster and yelling for the witch inside to come out. A woman eventually emerges, equally annoyed and angry at Virian's impudence. The old man takes his time introducing her to Arthur. She is Lilia Darkasan, an old friend and a very special deviant who, according to Virian, can help him. Despite his short height, Arthur's manners know no bounds. He promptly bows his head in respect to greet the lady. Lilia invites them inside while Arthur reflects on the fact that, as a deviant, her magic doesn't fall into the 4 basic elements, much like his mother's abilities. But he's still unsure how she's supposed to help him. Although Arthur doesn't want to seem like an impatient brat, he can't help but feel curious about how Lilia plans to assist him in reaching his parents. The lady finally explains that she is what they call a diviner. Magic of this nature varies from mage to mage, but she's quite capable. This means there's very little someone can hide from her if she chooses to pry. For instance, she already knows that Arthur is special, so special in fact that there are parts of his life even she can't see. However, her eyes have glimpsed pieces of both his past and future. She also knows he isn't here for her clairvoyant abilities, but because he wants to see his parents and let them know he's alive. She instructs him to lean forward and keep his eyes on the basin of water. As soon as Arthur complies, the lady begins her magic. Once he can see his parents in the water, he'll be able to speak to them. While Arthur tries to make the connection, the perspective shifts to his parents. There, his doting mother and father are having a meal, something Arthur used to enjoy a lot. Suddenly, they begin to hear Arthur's voice calling out to them. The sound catches them completely off guard, leaving them frozen. When Arthur says he's their son, that's enough to paralyze them entirely, their spoons slipping out of their hands as they let the shock sink in. As surprising as it is, Arthur assures them that he is indeed their son speaking directly into their heads. He doesn't have time to explain everything right now, but wanted to let them know he's safe and alive. He managed to survive the fall off the cliff, though barely. He also reveals that he's currently staying in the kingdom of Elenoir with the elves, but insists they must keep this a secret. Arthur tells them not to blame themselves for what happened back then. He's proud of what he did, and if he could go back in time, he wouldn't hesitate to make the same choices again. He explains a bit about his illness he has got, so he will be staying here longer to be treated before he can return home. He admits he's unsure if he'll get another chance to talk to them, as there's only one woman capable of helping him make this connection. Before ending the conversation, he asks his father to keep his mother and the baby safe. In the meantime, he'll continue his training and warns his dad not to be surprised if his proud son can beat him in a sparring match when they reunite. With that, this cerebral Skype session ends. Arthur's father breaks into absolute tears, and his wife follows suit. They can barely believe that Arthur is alive. The joy and excitement of hearing that their son is alive is so overwhelming that Arthur's parents embrace each other in absolute happiness. It's not just the parents shedding tears. Arthur himself is equally overwhelmed by the conversation he just had with his parents. However, he steels his balls up and tells the old man that he's finally ready for whatever lies ahead. After their brief visit to Lilia, the group finally returns to the castle, where the king and queen are already waiting for their arrival. As Elder Virian and Tessia enter the castle, Arthur is suddenly stopped by the king himself. It's not because the king resents him or wishes to bar his entry, but because he wants to reconcile. Even the queen wants to express her regret for their earlier behavior. Neither of them holds back in showing genuine contrition for how they treated him initially. Arthur, ever the forgiving soul, is more than happy to mend bridges. He promptly shakes hands with the king on friendly terms. However, Tessia is not sure if that is how apologies should work. As far as she's concerned, if the king and queen are truly sorry, they should at least let her take Arthur outside to explore the city, something she's been eager to do. Well, neither the king nor the queen has a reason to stop them, so eventually, Arthur and Tessia prepare to head out and explore the city. Tessia eagerly shows Arthur everything unique to Elenoir. However, during their walk, Arthur accidentally stumbles into an elf, or rather, the elf intentionally bumps into him, clearly looking for an opportunity to trash-talk the entire human race. After setting the scene, this opportunistic elf directly points a finger at Arthur, reminding him that he doesn't belong here, no matter the favor he's receiving from Elder Virian. While Arthur feels a bit pissed at this cocky bastard, Tessia steps in to confront the guy. The elf introduces himself as Faerith Ivsar and counters Tessia's questions with arrogance, asking how she can tolerate breathing the same air as a mere commoner like Arthur. Being the great knight he is, Faerith even offers to take the responsibility to escort her himself. But Arthur quickly turns the tide with some playful banter. His few well-aimed words manage to piss Faerith off to no end. The idea of someone mocking his knighthood is too much for this little punk to handle. In a fit of rage, Faerith throws down the gauntlet and challenges Arthur to a duel. Arthur, who already thought this guy was stupid, finds his expectations exceeded in the worst way possible. Tessia immediately steps forward, questioning the audacity of this so-called knight. How dare Faerith challenge the disciple of Elder Virion to a duel? Faerith makes it clear that he would never allow anyone to trample on his pride, as this is the way he was raised. Determined to defend his honor, he challenges Arthur to accept the duel, or retreat with his primate tail tucked between his legs. To add pressure, Faerith reminds Arthur that, in Elven society, his decision will reflect directly on his mentor Elder Virion. Arthur, on the other hand, is fascinated by the intense expressions on everyone's faces. He hadn't realized that dueling was taken so seriously here. Faerith, eager to get things started, takes Arthur's silence as acceptance. To get the things rolling, he insists that Princess Tessia officiate the duel. Reluctantly, Tessia agrees, and as soon as she gives the signal, Faerith charges forward, aiming to land the first blow. But my guy simply balls up his fist and delivers a single devastating punch. The impact is so brutal that Faerith's spit flies out of his mouth, and he's sent sprawling a few feet away. Arthur is left standing there, genuinely unsure if this is all it takes to win a duel. Meanwhile, Tessia isn't surprised to see the outcome, especially since she had expected this much to happen. As Arthur tries to wrap his head around whether he's become genuinely strong or if this was just a fluke, Tessia grabs his hand and dashes off. As they continue their journey once again, Arthur can't help but grow fonder of the little princess. While the rest of the day wasn't quite as exciting as dealing with Faerith, it was refreshing and gave Arthur a chance to get his mind off heavier matters. As Arthur and Tessia sit together, she asks him if he's feeling nervous about the tough training ahead. Well, it is clear that the weight of the upcoming day has already begun to press on Arthur's mind. He recalls Elder Virion's words of warning, crystal clear and unyielding. Virion had told him that the lessons would be far from easy. In fact, he made it clear that Arthur would need to brace himself for the grueling challenges ahead. The pain from his mana core's assimilation process would be excruciating, and if you want a little perspective how grueling it would be, it's the same as submerging one's body in boiling tar. Arthur would be stuck in this foreign land, away from the comfort of his family. Even the simplest aspects of daily life would feel arduous. But Virion had also promised that, if Arthur could endure the trials, the rewards awaiting him at the end would be extraordinary. In the present, Arthur breaks out of his thoughts and responds to Tessia with a determined smile. He tells her that he's excited, not nervous. He's come a long way to get to where he is now. Training, seeing his parents again, and growing stronger are all things he looks forward to. He can't wait to see what the future holds for him. And with that, the first season wraps up, leaving Arthur ready to face whatever challenges come his way. The years fly by in the blink of an eye, and the first thing we see is a more mature Tessia. She's here to wake our boy up, who has also grown a lot since the last time we saw him. It looks like their relationship has evolved a lot, and just as they're bickering, the old man cuts them off, telling them to get ready for their lessons ahead. Before we get into the action, here's a quick lore drop. There are 4 basic elements, and then there are higher forms. The higher elements, ice, gravity, lightning, and sound, can only be controlled by mages who have mastered their foundational elements. These people are known as deviants. Dwarves are limited to manipulating earth and fire, but they have a much higher affinity for these elements. Their special trait is their ability to mold and bend metal, and the most skilled among them can control fire and earth to the point where they can summon and manipulate magma. Elves can manipulate water, wind, and earth, but with much higher affinity than humans. In rare cases, elves can also produce a special type of deviant mage capable of controlling plants. However, elves cannot produce mages who can control the higher forms of water, wind, or earth. Humans, on the other hand, can manipulate any of the 4 basic elements, and are the only race capable of producing deviants in any of those elements, as well as anomalies that can't be categorized into the elements, like emitters or healers. There's a delicate power balance between the 3 races, taking into account their populations, overall affinity to elements, and the diversity of their mages. At least, this is all Arthur knows, and he asks his master if this level of explanation is plausible for the audience. Virion takes a moment to think before giving it a pass. It seems Tessia has something to say. While she understands that the assimilation process is meant to prepare Arthur's body for his beast will, she believes it would be even better for him to train his body physically, just as she does, using magic in the process. Arthur understands the reasoning behind her response. Over these 3 years, the differences in their races have really stood out to him. While humans are considered talented if they awaken in their late preteen years, it's not surprising for elves to awaken by the age of 10. For Tessia, it happened even earlier, at the tender age of 9, and since then, she's been training her magic under a tutor while also learning to fight from her grandfather. The old man playfully questions her if she's perhaps angry that she's the only one getting beaten up during her training, to which the poor girl quickly admits. As grueling as these exercises seem, Arthur knows Tessia is going to be a monster in the future. The old man takes a moment to elaborate further for Tessia. He explains that what Arthur has been doing over the past 3 years is essentially fusing his bones, muscles, and organs with his mana. While he hasn't been physically training like her, the old man assures her that once this process is complete, Arthur's body will be stronger and more resilient than even a veteran warrior. Now shifting back to Arthur, the old man notes that 3 years of mana fusion hasn't been enough to drain his energy entirely. So he decides to help him a little. After today, Arthur will become a true beast tamer, unlike those lucky adventurers who treat their beast wills as mere tools. Apparently, Virion plans to ignite Arthur's mana core by transferring a large amount of his own mana into him. He reassures his junior that it might feel a bit warm, but it shouldn't be too bad. As soon as the old man begins the process, Arthur quickly learns the hard way that it's far more than just warm, it's downright hellish. The searing pain courses through him, and the light emanating from his chest grows ever brighter, intensifying to an almost blinding level. Then, without warning, a powerful wave of energy hits everything in its range, throwing both the old man and Tessia across the hall. When the procedure finally concludes, Tessia and the old man rush to our boy's side, and thankfully, he seems to be okay. He's dazed but intact. After witnessing such a terrifying display of power, the old man's curiosity reaches its peak. He finally decides to confront Arthur about the origin of the beast will he inherited. The boy earnestly responds, claiming that this was given by a female dragon. The mention of a dragon hits the old man like a thunderclap. He goes into a frenzy of excitement and disbelief. The realization that he has been training a bona fide dragon tamer is driving him crazy. A while later, our boy opens his eyes in the bed. The old man feels relieved that nothing major has happened. Meanwhile, our boy asks if they're going to keep his abilities a secret even if he leaves. The old man promises they will, but then unexpectedly drops a bombshell. Apparently, Arthur's departure has been set for just 4 months from now. Of course, this news shakes our boy to his core. He had been under the impression he'd be stuck here for another 2 years. The old man goes on to explain that an inter-kingdom tournament for the youths of the 3 kingdoms has finally been confirmed. The portal in Zyra City, within the Sappan Kingdom, will soon open to allow travel between Elenoir and Darv. This is also why Tessia isn't around. She'd have gone absolutely bonkers upon hearing that he is leaving. It's finally time for Arthur to be united back with his family. Although Arthur looks forward to reuniting with his family, he still feels that 4 months is far too soon. This is when the old man assures him that these 4 months will be so excruciating that he'll end up begging for them to pass quickly. Now that his assimilation is complete, his training is about to get even tougher. With that said, the old man leaves. Right at that moment, Arthur's eyes catch sight of his egg, which has fallen down from the couch for some mysterious reason. It's beginning to show cracks, as if it's about to hatch. Not long after, the shell starts to shatter, and out comes a tiny dragon. The first thing the little creature does is let out a yawn, then promptly falls over, leaving Arthur completely baffled about what just happened. Later, Arthur finds himself staring at the little cutie pie. It's clear the dragon has taken a liking to him, and it's equally obvious that Arthur finds the little one irresistible. Honestly, it's just too damn cute. But it seems I spoke too soon. The dragon suddenly bites him, and the only reason it releases its grip is because the little one doesn't like how Arthur's sweaty, salty skin tastes. The bite burns Arthur a little, and the burn leaves a permanent mark on his arm. The little cutie happily calls him Mama after the attack. Arthur, on the other hand, has no idea who's talking to him, but soon he realizes it's the dragon, and she's literally speaking directly into his mind. Arthur corrects her, telling her he's a boy, so she should at least call him Papa. As for her name, he decides to call her Sylvie, after her mother. While playing with the little one, Arthur suddenly notices that the burn mark from the bite isn't just a random lesion. It feels like the burn is actually connecting him to the dragon somehow. As he relaxes with Sylvie, Arthur drifts off to sleep. He suddenly wakes up in the dead of night